Do you guys know what this is? This is the sign that designates the handicapped parking spaces in parking lots. Now, it's actually a law for any business, no matter what they are. If they have a parking lot, they must have a required minimum amount of handicapped parking spaces in their establishment. These parking spaces are designated to be close to the entrance of the business so that anybody with a disability who qualifies to park in those handicapped spaces actually has the ability to access the business in question. Disabilities such as cystic fibrosis, Down syndrome, people who are quadriplegic, people who are paraplegic, these parking spaces are crucial for those individuals in order for them to actually have a better quality of life in order to utilize such businesses at their leisure. But in a lot of cases, especially more often than not, when I'm out and about, I'm noticing that people who don't qualify for these handicapped spaces, who don't even have the designated placards that they're supposed to have, whether it be the tag that hangs from the rear view mirror or an actual license plate that indicates that they're handicapped, are utilizing these parking spaces and forcing people who are actually disabled to not be able to utilize these spaces and park further away from businesses, or forcing them to not be able to stop at these businesses at all. So this article I found on the internet, which is titled Handicap Parking Permit Guide for People with Disabilities, it actually, in the very first paragraph, states 26% of adults in the United States live with a disability. Almost 14% of these adults have a mobility disability with serious difficulty walking or climbing stairs, and nearly 7% of the adults with an independent living disability have difficulty doing errands alone. In these cases, these people can't even drive themselves to these businesses. They require somebody else to do it, like a relative, a friend, or whatnot, to actually get them to these businesses, whether it be, a restaurant, a retail establishment, the doctors, a hospital, things like that, in order for them to even be able to get into these businesses. It goes on with saying, those with a mobility limiting disability that may make walking painful or difficult could be qualified for a parking permit. The said placard that I mentioned before, or the license plate that would actually go on their vehicle in order to indicate that they are permitted to park in these parking spaces. The article actually goes on and lists what qualifies as a disability according to the ADA, or the Americans with Disability Act. Restrictions by lung disease, severe heart conditions, portable oxygen requirements, the things they have to carry portable oxygen tanks in order to actually breathe, the inability to walk extended distances without stopping to rest, a severe disability in which there is a need for an assistive device or person for mobility. Assistive device such as a cane, a walker, a wheelchair, or the assistance of actually somebody holding you up in the air in order for you to actually be able to walk. Documented vision impairments, loss or limited use of one or both legs and or both hands, such as individuals that have accidents where they have to have amputations to their hands, their arms, their legs, their feet. More unfortunately, in most of those cases, are military veterans that are coming home injured from the war. And these business requirements that are actually required to have these parking spaces, they're not even designated that you have to have a large number of parking spaces. In more often than not cases, for every 7 to 10 parking spaces, you have to have one designated handicap parking space for these individuals. And what I've been noticing, it's not these individuals that are able to use these parking spaces. It's people who are doing these quick deliveries, unfortunately I have to say, like Lyft, like Uber Eats, instead of parking in normal parking spaces and running in and grabbing what you got, running out, or even people that just are stopping and going shopping. They're utilizing these parking spaces because they're too lazy to park further away. And it drives me absolutely insane. I have relatives who need to use these parking spaces if they have to go anywhere. And it drives me insane when I see somebody who does not need it use it. Just the other day, I saw some guy pull into one of these parking spaces in his fancy BMW and get out and stand in the window of a Chinese pickup restaurant on his phone waiting for his food to get finished. Meanwhile, some poor guy had to park all the way down at the other end of the parking lot to walk all the way the other direction in order to utilize a doctor's office. And this guy saw him walking and didn't care. When all of a sudden did it get to the point where people got so lazy or so self-deluded in their own head that makes them think that they deserve to park in those spaces and not the people who really actually need them park there instead? I mean, across the internet all the time you see over and over and over again, people posting pictures on social media of people parking in handicapped spaces and not even a good job of it. Sometimes it's sideways, sometimes it's in between the lines. And don't even get me started about the people that park in the spaces in between the handicapped parking spaces. Those are for handicap accessible vans. You know, people who use wheelchairs. If you either park too close or park into that designated roped off section, guess what? You're forcing somebody who's using a wheelchair to have to wait for your dumb ass to finish whatever the hell it is that you're doing that made you park there in the first place instead of parking 5 spaces back. Because it was going to take you, what, an extra 20 steps to get into wherever you're going? This is unbelievable. It's so freaking retarded that people feel the necessity to have to utilize these spaces because they feel freaking privileged. And here's the other thing too, genius. Somebody can actually call the police on you if you do park in one of these parking spaces. The fine that somebody would receive for actually parking in a handicapped spot when they're not designated to be able to park in a handicapped spot is anywhere from $200 or more. If you actually see somebody parking in a handicapped parking space, you can actually call the police. Don't call 911 because it's not an emergency, but at the same time, if you call the local dispatch, they can actually send a car out, and if the person is still there, they will get fined. They will get a ticket, whether they're at their car or not. The police will gladly leave them a ticket that requires them to pay the fine because they don't belong in that parking space. Stop being lazy and entitled and use the parking spaces in a parking lot that are there for you, and leave the handicapped spaces alone for the people who actually need them. Just my opinion. No, you know what? Screw that. It's not my opinion. It's fact. Hello everyone, greetings and salutations. It's Mattimus again. If you're watching me right now, that means you made it to the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you watched, please make sure you hit the like button. And if you're new to my channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to follow me on all my other social media platforms. Links are in the description down below. If you'd like to watch another one of my videos I've done, just click on the picture to the left of me. If you want to see all the videos I've done, just click on my face right down below. Again, thank you so much for watching. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.